Hello! New product today from HobbyMate, and it's a charger. But before we get into it, a quick reminder to please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, like or dislike this video if you didn't like it, click the little bell icon at the side, and always stay hydrated because at least some of those will really help me out. Anyway, back to it. It's a HobbyMate charger. What is inside the box? Well, this is the D6 Duo Pro, and what you get is these very brief sort of more of a spec sheet than instructions. The actual instructions are available online. The actual charger itself looks like this. And you get a power lead for it, which comes separate to this box. But what you have here is a dual channel charger, which will charge up to 15 amps, depending the power input. What I really like about it is this is the entire unit. There's no separate power brick. You just plug in with your normal sort of kettle lead, or you can plug in an XT60 as your source. You've got also a USB charge out there. This other USB is for updating the firmware. This is a contactless charging surface for things like the new iPhones use it and other things. And then you've got this lovely display. But in order to really show this, let's go down on the floor, because that's where I do my charging, and I'll show you what I normally charge with and show you what a difference this thing uses. Join me down below. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Yeah, this is my current charger, and don't get me wrong, it's done me well, but A, it's big, B, it's very loud, and some of this is because it runs on this big 350 watt external power supply, which then plugs into that, and then you can, I'll plug this battery in here, and then on each one of these, let's move this over here, you have individual controls. So let's say I want to do a balance charge, and this sort of firmware would be quite familiar to any of you guys that had the old sort of B6 chargers and stuff like that. Literally everything seemed to have this particular firmware all the time. Look at the size difference. Okay, so what I'll do is now plug this in so we can compare the noise. And that is about it, and its idle noise is so much quieter, it's unbelievable. Fairly simple. It's got this little rocker switch and this channel button, so the channel goes between each one. There's channel 1, channel 2, and when I press it again I go back to normal, and if I hold this in for a length of time it goes through a certain set of tasks. We've got task parameters, system parameters, calibration, self-checking, go back to factory, system info, all that jazz. Now we're obviously plugged in using the power lead here, just this little kettle lead as we call them. If you want to run this at full power, this will run at 200 watts, and that is effectively about 11 amps. So you could charge two 5,000 milliamp batteries at 1C each, which is kind of what I'm after. But if you go external, this is when it goes to 650 watts, and you can charge each channel at 15 amps with the right external power, which is pretty intense. And if you've got, you know, massive multi-cell batteries, like, you know, great big 6S ones, then that's probably useful. For me, I mostly charge, you know, 1.3 2.2 amps and 2 channels of that, not a problem. The biggest I get is, I think I've got a couple of 5200 4 cells, which would still work on this quite nicely. So I'm not sure if the intention here was that you'd get one of those sort of balance boards that you'd plug in there. There was nothing in the box, but what you can do is just plug in directly. You just basically line up your ground there and then put your discharge port in there, and that is a little 1.3 amp 4 cell. And if we now go to channel 1, we can get a bit more information about that. It's telling us the current voltage, the current charge on each of the cells. You can see this is at storage charge, and after, it says 2 or 3 minutes, the charger will do a little test on all cells and come up with their internal resistance measurement, which you can then see along there. It's not there at the moment, it's just giving us some information about various gubbins. Okay, so how do we charge it? We do just a short press here. It will come up with our operations. So maybe I should turn that beeper off. Charge. I was a bit confused here at first. I thought charge was a non-balanced charge, as you've got another thing down here called balance. But charge does balance afterwards, and balance is something you can make it go to a certain voltage where all the cells will balance to that thing. You've also got discharge, external discharge. That's quite an important one. Well, let's set it to charge first. So I'm a LiPo, and you can change the type of battery for so many different things, and it's got all these types of batteries built in, so it knows the right type of charge for it. Although if you want to, you can alter your cell voltage. So should you... I don't know why you'd want to alter your cell voltage, but the option is there. And obviously it's then got the setting for what you want to charge it at. And this will allow you to go up, as I said, all the way to 15 amps. Now, although this will take a higher charge, I always charge it 1C anyway. And then you can start the task. And it's interesting that it has different colours for what it's doing. So this is charging, it then changes colour when it gets close to the end and changes colour again when it's completely finished. Let's chuck another battery in at the other side while we're at it, just so we get something else going on. And it's exactly what I did last time I was doing a charge, so let's do that. So there's our display showing both batteries charging, and if we go back to the first one now, aside from the fact you can see our voltages are going up, I like the fact that we've got 3 figures after the decimal point there. But if we now go on the jog wheel, you see our internal resistance measurement, and you can see this battery, which is about 2 years old, is starting to get long in the tooth. When you've got cells going over 10, is it milliohms? I can't remember. Whatever it is, over 10 is starting to be a bit long in the tooth, and certainly I get that feeling on these batteries. So let's stop that one, which we can do just like that, and you can see the other one carries on, and we'll look at the other things we can do. So aside from charge, we had discharge, and the cool thing about this one is you can discharge internally up to 3 amps. Let's start that going. Now again, you can actually discharge on this at up to 15 amps as well, which is mental. To do that, you have this thing called external discharge, which it won't let me select because it knows I don't have anything in there. So what it means is you've got a power supply going in the back there, and so instead of all that amps going and exchanging as heat there, it goes back into a battery of some sort over there, which is plugged into the back. That's what the external discharge means. Not something I'm probably going to use, but for you guys that are out in the field and you've got, you know, one of those great big 16,000 milliamp hours which you're charging up at, if at the end of the day you need to discharge batteries, you can get them back into that big battery at quite a rate and really discharge very quickly, which is cool. Obviously there's normal storage charge, which is something I do with all my batteries, and you see it's gone green there to say it's done, because it's close enough. Basically everything is at 3.8 or thereabouts. So what of the thing on the top? This is the wireless charge facility. Placing a phone on, and it starts charging. Completely crazy. So mostly I've been using this to charge up these sort of batteries that I use. Oh yeah, that definitely was more than 2 years old. That I generally use all the time. And I've already put a whole bunch of batteries through this, and it is a real pleasure just to plug them in, charge them up, bring them back, put them back to storage. It doesn't make a noise unless you're discharging at a very high rate. That's the only time the fan goes up. It's just lovely and quiet, and it's so compact, which are the things I like about it. Anyway, I'm sure it has more impressive features and all that, and I'm just sort of touching on them, but that's kind of the common things I'm doing. I'm literally just charging up my batteries and then putting them back to storage again. Well, there you go, and I do get the feeling I'm kind of scratching the surface just in the case of what features it has. But for most people like me, I think we're plugging things in and we're charging batteries and then we're coming back and we're putting them back to storage charge. For those of you thinking, hey, what if I don't have XC60s? You can get lots of adapter things like that. So that's my adapter to do JST, for example. So I am pretty impressed with this. It feels like charging, but for the 21st century, and the stuff I was using was sort of the old-fashioned gubbins. Charging doesn't seem complicated. You put, you know, voltage in and batteries charged, but this does it in such a lovely, slick way. It's nice and compact, it's nice and quiet, it does 2 batteries at once, and it can do them at a very high charge and discharge rate. Really, really nice. I just love the fact that it's in such a small little compact package and does the thing it does well, but that's just me. What it's not though is cheap, so you know, that's down to you. If you want to spend some money on a good quality charger, then this is a good one. You can obviously get cheaper ones out there and they'll do the job. They just don't look pretty and have all the various features that this do. But check it out and take a bit more of a look if you like. This is the HobbyMate D6 Duo Pro charger, and this was kindly supplied by HobbyCool, and of course links are down below where you can check it out in more detail. I hope that's been helpful and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.